This is a PokePress special report. Hi everybody, Steven here with the next part of the travel logs from my trip to Japan. So we took a train from Hakone to Tokyo, and eventually we got off at the Asakusa district, or neighborhood, or whatever the term is. And on the way to our hostel, we went through a shrine there in the neighborhood, as well as a market and some other stuff. I wish I kind of had more to say about that, but, you know, we got to our hostel, and this time our room was actually, we had like 8 of the guys in our group were all in one room in the basement, so we went down the stairs and moved in there for the remainder of our trip. The Wi-Fi there, I don't know, I had some trouble with it, as did some of the other people in our group, but by the time this is our third hostel, things were pretty much what we expected there. So we had the afternoon off, and we decided we'd go over to Akihabara, which is, for those of you who don't know, is the sort of the big technology shopping district of Tokyo. It's actually not too far. It didn't take us too long to take a train down there. The first place we went to was this shopping tower. It's basically this big, like 7 or 8 story building that's all shopping. Different floors had different things. The one we were on, at least, was called the Total Multimedia Life Yodobashi Camera, is what it says on my bag there. And so they had like video games and movies and CDs and a couple other things, some general merchandise. And so I headed over to the video game area on that floor, and there were some, first of all, they still have a selection of DS games. Starting here in America, you don't see too much of that now. They had like one shelf of DS games, a lot of it Pokemon. As you might expect, those things have a very long tail. And so after taking a look at the video games, basically, first of all, I wanted to mention again possibly my favorite Japanese TV show, other than maybe Pokemon, is Game Center CX. And they had a couple things that I picked up there. First of all, there was the 3DS game that had recently come out, and I had picked up a copy of that. And then in the movie TV area, they had this whole shelf that was all like box sets from the TV show, and I thought about getting some of those, but since the DVDs won't play in my local player, really kind of didn't really interest me too much. But I did pick up the soundtrack on CD. It's got a bunch of things from the TV show. Haven't had a chance to actually listen to it yet, even though it's quite a bit of time after I've gotten back. Still haven't listened to the CD, unfortunately. And you know, come to think of it, that 3DS game won't play in my North American 3DS. Maybe I bought something else on this trip, but we'll see about that. In any case, while I was at the shopping store there was, I did pick up one Pokemon item. I picked up the Movie 16 Blu-ray, Genesect and the Legend Awakened. The main reason I bought this is that, first off, unlike DVDs, Japanese Blu-rays will play in your North American player. Now, this, as far as I know, doesn't have any English audio or subtitles. But normally what I've done for the last couple of movies, I've bought the Australian Blu-rays, which have been compatible with my Blu-ray player, but doesn't seem to be one of those on the horizon, so I figured I may as well get the Japanese one. So after that tower, we went over to a little further west into, I guess, the more otaku-based district of Akihabara. This is where you see a lot of, anime-type goods and stuff like that. But the first place we went to in that vicinity is we went to a place called Book Off, which is a used game and bookstore. Basically, like the first floor was all video games. The upper floors had tons of manga and other books and CDs and all kinds of stuff like that. While I was there, I picked up Blastozer, which, for those of you who aren't aware, is the Japanese version of Blastcore for the N64. And I also picked up a Famicom cartridge of Super Mario USA. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, Famicom is essentially the Japanese version of the NES. There are some hardware differences. And Super Mario USA, well, if you can't tell from the picture of the cartridge there, is basically what happened is, some of you may know that the American Super Mario Bros. 2 is not the same as the Japanese one. The American Mario 2 started off as a Mario prototype, got built into something completely different for Japan, and then they went back and redid the game again for America, and that's how we got our Super Mario Bros. 2, but they later republished our Super Mario Bros. 2 back in Japan as Super Mario USA, and that's what this cartridge is. Don't have any real way to play it, but it's just kind of cool to have that. It's also neat to notice that, Japanese Famicom cartridges came in a lot of different colors, not just like gray and the occasional gold here in the US. So after that, we sort of went to a bunch of different stores in the area. The one that we went to, actually, that I really liked was Super Potato, which is a store I had heard about. It's pretty famous. Unlike the Book Off, which is combined books and video games and all sorts of stuff, this was pretty much all video games and video game merchandise. One thing I want to say is that in Tokyo, it's common for a store to have multiple floors, but it's not necessarily the case that all the floors are connected internally. And that was kind of the case with Super Potato. There were like 3 or 4 floors of the store. The top floor was an arcade, and things were kind of arranged by generation. So you had like your 8-bit and like maybe some 16-bit stuff on one floor. The next floor had like 16 and 32, and then there was the arcade. And basically they had all kinds of different stuff, really heavily decorated store, really nice looking. One of the things they had at Super Potato was actually a Virtual Boy, which, I actually own one of my own, so it's not as special to me, but apparently the other people in our group were not familiar with it, so they did take a look in there. But while I was at Super Potato, I picked up a couple Pokemon games. I picked up the original Pocket Monsters Red and Pocket Monsters Silver. They also had yellow. For some reason, they didn't seem to have any. It was either green or blue they were out of. And I'm not sure exactly why, if those are just more popular or what. But in any case, I picked up Silver because originally I had picked up Gold. So I figured, well, we'll pick up the Japanese Silver. So after that, we did some more shopping. I didn't really buy anything else that day. I was mostly there just to pick up video games. But for dinner, we went to a maid cafe. Now, if you've seen one of my tour videos of Anime Milwaukee, you kind of know what to expect there as far as like the attire. But they have very cutesy food. Some of it is made to look like various animals and stuff. The other thing you should know is actually they're quite loud. They do singing sometimes and play some very loud music. And this is another place I don't have any pictures of because they don't allow you to take pictures, so just so you know that. But that was our first day in Tokyo. So, the next day, I'm not guaranteeing anything, but I may have gone to the Pokemon Center, I may have picked some things up, and I may have some things to tell you, but you're just going to have to sit tight and wait for that. Thanks. This has been a PokePress Special Report.